Hi there, Falk here from the Aetheric Forge here again today. Some exciting news. We're releasing Aetheric Platform version 1.0 today. In my last video, I talked a bit about Aetheric Runtime, and I was going to do a video about version 0.8, but instead, I guess I get to do a release video about 1.0. I demonstrated very early on in my video series here um, the idea of the Etheric Forge infrastructure, which was that it was a deterministic and repeatable infrastructure deployment. Um, that would allow you to completely rebuild, a destroyed or a new cluster from from a known state. Given you have proper backups. I didn't touch a lot about backups at that time. I will get a little bit more into it as I discuss version 1.0. That was one of the key features. So in terms of capabilities, what version 1.0 gives us is it gives us a lot of automation of a lot of operations, things that can be very, very annoying and then also very bad for service uptime. Cert Manager and external DNS take care of automating DNS and certificate issuance. This is a big headache, and when you're in the middle, especially of a disaster, DNS and certificates can really take a huge amount of cognitive bandwidth that would be much better spent elsewhere. So having those things automated is a really big thing. So that's external DNS. That's external DNS, Cert Manager, and then we added on top of that Step CA so that we can run our own internal CA. And I have all of the Etheric Forge services running on an internal domain with its own root CA. And that's just a simple matter of, figuring out a distribution mechanism where all of your workstations trust your internal domain. So that's an operations concern. I don't cover it here, but that's basically all you end up with. And then you avoid all the pitfalls that some of you may have experienced trying to implement things like split horizon DNS, which cosmetically kind of looks nice, but on the other hand, I would argue that cosmetically it's good to know which of your applications are private, which ones are publicly facing, so that you don't accidentally have a CSR share information from a private application to a client. Um, so so that's the basic part of it. Then on top of that, we're going to add capabilities that map to capabilities the runtime provides, such as message queuing and transport. So we have an implementation of RabbitMQ. You might look at things like Kafka. I made an attempt at one point to do a more obscure Unix socket transport. I removed it for now. It doesn't mean it's useless, but it's certainly rather niche and not important at this time. So that's the transports. The other thing we expose is a repo. So that's backed by right now a document database in MongoDB. Um, so there's repo. We also added a shared memory concept just now, and we map that we have a Redis implementation of that. So those are some key features of the runtime and the capabilities exposed by the platform. And then finally we have all these services backed by SSO. So we start with Keycloak. So this is going to be where we set up our application client. So if we want to use SSO like ArgoCD does here, uh, then you need to set up a client. an OIDC client that connects to Keycloak, and then you need to set up the realm and the users and the groups and so on. There's more details in the actual build video as well, so I'll put some of those in there later on. So that's the SSO side. And then we have S3 storage here. You can, of course, get S3 storage in AWS and other providers. Having your own local S3 storage is good too. I mean, I could set up a backup routine for whereby I could, physically go and plug a disk in, have it back up there and go physically take the disk off site. So if I had a backup process like that, I have physical backups as well. So there's S3 in the backups. That's backed by something called Velero. Again, we have a look at that later on in the video. And then yeah, we have the transport, the RabbitMQ transport, and then we also have Postgres database instance and a MongoDB database instance. The MongoDB is exposed as a repo. I do have plans for exactly how I'm going to expose a row-based projection of the event stream, but that's a later thing for runtime to figure out. So those are all the components that get installed by the Bootstrap here. The video will proceed and we'll watch all of them and make some notes about the individual components as it makes sense. And I'll come back later and talk a bit more about next steps. All right, so let's talk about one of the first major features of the Aetheric Platform 1.0, which is single sign-on. We're using Keycloak as the open source implementation of single sign-on. This is a very capable identity provider. It will interface using standard protocols like Open ID Connect and SAML to other OAuth servers or other SAML servers. So you can keep current or federated with Entra, for example. My plan is to use this as kind of the master and to keep Entra updated based on Keycloak. There's a lot of options here. I mean, I could probably do an entire lecture series about I am alone, but let's keep it simple for the purposes of this video. So we have here our realm here. So there's two realms. When you install Keycloak, you get the master realm, which is just Keycloak. So that's where all of your users and clients and things come in. And most importantly, where you can create realms. So once you create your realm, you get your own clients, users, groups list. So in this one here, I created my root user, and I granted a oh sorry, yeah. If we went back to the Keycloak realm for a moment and it showed the root user. So you do have to put into both realms. So this is the Keycloak user, and if you see my role mapping, it includes admin. So that puts me on the same footing as the original temporary admin user had. And then we also created some groups. Oh, sorry, switch realms. So yeah, we had our user in here. There's no special role mapping because we haven't created any realm specific roles. And then we added ourselves to the groups ArgoCD and Minio admins. They're really just names. You can add attributes and roles and things to it. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with Keycloak, but let's keep it simple. All right, so we go back to our clients, and you can see we've put one in for ArgoCD. I'm going to do another clip about that in a moment. So we create our ArgoCD application. We set it up as requiring client auth and use a standard flow. There's a lot of other settings. But most importantly, we get our generated client secret out of Kubernetes and we save it here. And we make sure that it includes the group's default scope because ArgoCD is going to use that ArgoCD admins group to determine who's an admin. So that's clients, users, groups, and realms and client scopes. I'm gonna come back and talk a little bit more about some of the other applications. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Argo CD and GitOps. So Argo CD is what we're using to keep the applications deployed on platform up to date with their Git repository. So I'm going to show you first of all what an application would typically look like. Psycho here. So I've got in this development branch here, I've got a deployment directory here uh, with this workloads. So if we look real quick at this, you'll see it deploys the base, which is going to have the deployment, the service, and the backup. We'll get to that in a different clip here. And then if we go back to the overlays here, you can see that we are putting up we're putting up an actual ingress with the Let's Encrypt prod issuer. We're putting it in the public Metal LB pool, and we're issuing a certificate for those names. So that's a complete application. And in fact, if we log into here, you can see that we have in fact deployed it, and it does in fact have all of those things, right? So here's our schedule, and you can see all of these backups are owned by the application as well. So that makes it easy to find them in Kubernetes. And then, yeah, there's our certificate as well, and our running deployment and service. And of course, if we come and have a look at it, you'll see that there it is. So if we come back to our applications for a moment here, I'm going to show you how we go ahead and deploy one. There's an example application in the infrastructure repository. I'm just going to demonstrate here how you would deploy that. So we're going to just call it Hello World and put it in the default project because we haven't defined any others right now. And then we'll enable all those. Service side apply, create namespace. And then we'll use the public GitHub repository URL. So that's in the Aetheric Forge repository. Okay. And we're going to use the v0.9 branch because I haven't tagged v1.0 yet because I need the URL of this video for it. Excuse me, sorry, back to work. We wanted to deploy apps hello world overlays dev. And we deploy it to local cluster in the hello world namespace. Okay, and we're just gonna leave that as it is in the template and create it. And it already picks it up. And I guess we're just waiting for this ingress to pick up an IP. Okay, I think that's all we're waiting for is the IP. Oh, no, it's waiting for the host name. Right. It has to update public. All right, so let's have a look at S3 storage and backup. So there are two components in the system that use S3 storage for backup. The first is Velero. Velero allows us to set up scheduled jobs which back up namespace resources as well as optionally entire volume snapshots to S3. So if you had an encrypted volume, for instance, you might find it easiest to just copy the entire encrypted volume to S3 storage. So like ArgoCD, we set this up earlier to log in via Keycloak. So we'll just log in with our internal Keycloak ID here. Oh man. All right, so if we come log in here, we'll immediately hit the object browser. So there's the two here. As I said, we have the Velero backups. So these are our backup schedules here. And then we also added one with the Aetheric Forge website, has a backup as well that runs daily. So there's our daily backups, and then our real-time backups here, our write-ahead logging for Cloud Native Postgres. You can see it's we did a big write here as a test on Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon, and now on Monday afternoon, it's updating every so often, but it's not very busy. So those are the backups. The rest of MinIO is pretty straightforward. You can create buckets. You could create policies about what you can do with those buckets. You can create users, assign the policies to those users, and then create access keys for login. So we've looked at the files in those. That's pretty straightforward. That's about all there is to say about storage. MinIO is a complete S3 replacement for AWS. Okay, so I want to look at the rest of the platform features from the perspective of a developer. So once this dev cluster is installed and everything is all set up, you actually end up with a very nice integrated environment for working. So as you can see here, we have all of our services. We have our Redis, we have our RabbitMQ, and we have our Mongo. We also have our internal database, but as I said, we haven't exposed that to the runtime as yet. So yeah, the rest of the video here is us just testing those things, but you've seen it there quite quickly in the interface itself, and this really is a nice platform to work on. The runtime is rapidly approaching another minor release as well, and they're going to be developing in coordination from that point forward. So I look forward to spending some more of my creations with you. I really appreciate your attention and your interest, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.